Before we get into the list of the top 10 best real racing games on Steam, let me quickly split quote-unquote realistic racing games into two categories: the hardcore racing sims and the more casual Simcade-style racing games. Simcade titles are still realistic-looking titles, but they just don't have the ultimate depth in terms of the physics, tire model, or suspension calculations that the simulators have. However, these titles usually have much better graphics and high overall production quality as they cater to a larger set of gamers versus just the die-hard sim junkies. Hardcore sims, however, are less about playing a racing game and more about actually feeling like a racing driver and actually feeling like you're driving a race car. There's nothing cinematic or easy about these titles. They're very serious and very complex racing titles intended for a hardcore realism-seeking audience with racing wheels and those looking to get into realistic setup engineering. So to make this top 10 list cater to both audiences, we'll go over the top 5 hardcore sims and then the top 5 Simcade racers as two individual mini lists. Simulation number 5 is Assetto Corsa Competizione. Once fully released and featured, this title would be much higher on this list. The recently released early access official Blancpain GT series game brings over Assetto Corsa's stunning visuals and suspension, chassis, and roll physics to a new experience. It's one to watch as the year goes on, but at the moment, if you're looking for something to pick up and get wheel-to-wheel with other cars, or players in a polished release, this isn't it quite yet, but it will be soon. Simulation number 4, RaceRoom Racing Experience. While being a quote-unquote free game, microtransactions are required to buy some of RaceRoom Racing Experience's best content, such as the officially licensed DTM or WTCC championships. However, compared to other full simulators, the AI in R3E is actually fun to race against. So while this is the 4th simulator on the list, if you want a full-on simulator where you can have really enjoyable and competitive offline championships and races against the AI, R3 is actually an easy number 1 compared to other sims for that. Simulation number 3 is Assetto Corsa. Now that it has been released for a couple of years and has a huge roster of factory-built, laser-scanned cars and tracks, AC stands proudly with the big boys in the sim racing genre. It took a while for all the simulation features to actually come into play, however, and the title started off very much as a Simcade. That being said, however, it's more approachable than most other sims because it has options to turn the realism down, but overall isn't missing too much compared to the top sims nowadays. This and our next two full simulators are really best played online, and public online sessions are sometimes how you get a great amount of getting punted or illegally blocked. So to fully enjoy these top 3 sims, I would urge you to look for organized competitive online leagues. Simulator 2 is iRacing. The famous and simultaneously infamous iRacing comes in at number 2 as it actually is released on Steam, albeit unpopularly, and I don't recommend buying it through Steam. But iRacing is essentially an integrated and web-based league, ladder, ranking, and pickup race system which launches a single instance game client for the specific session you pick to run it on the website. So it's not a launch and play offline sort of game. This is a multiplayer-only, instance-based game. The rating, license, and penalty systems make it one of the best on the entire list for factory-supported competitive racing directly from the developers. However, the sheer amount of money needed to invest in the sim to experience even just 25% of the active content is almost offensive when you first run the numbers. You will spend a lot of money on this multiplayer-only sim your first couple of years. A lot of money. However, with that, you also get the most accurate representation of some of this content as well, as every single inch of every single car and track is laser scanned to millimeter accuracy. Simulator number 1 is rFactor 2. rFactor 2 is the most fully sim-featured, fully realized, and fully dynamic consumer racing software in existence today. With a full 24-hour day-night cycle, rain with a dynamic drawing line based on the cars running over the track and dispersing the water, endurance racing, and online driver swaps to allow for 6 to 24-hour endurance races, and crazy complex tire and suspension models, That really only with the added visuals of a few UI mods or Motec telemetry software will you only really begin to appreciate. In terms of content, it gets even better. Base content from the original developers of RF2 was severely lacking, and new owners Studio 397 are changing that with some really striking official content packs. However, pretty much any car or track you've ever dreamed of driving in a simulator is available for the game from free external mod directories such as Race Department's mod section or directly through Steam via the rFactor 2 Steam Workshop. There's so much content, realism, and variety this title has to offer for its single-time price tag. The absolute best experience, however, will again come from organized competitive online leagues. Alright, so with the top 5 simulators out of the way, let's move over to the top 5 Simcades. Again, these are more casual and will have more options for those seeking single-player-centric experiences. Coming in at number 5 is Need for Speed Shift. As one of the oldest and cheapest games in this entire video, Need for Speed Shift might lose your attention pretty quickly, but it sort of holds up even today. It's a Need for Speed game, so of course it's more on the arcade side, but there are no Fast and Furious style police action chases here. This is a real racing game. And it was the first big time project for developers Slightly Mad Studios, who would go on to make the #1 game on this Simcade list. If you want to get on track for cheap, this game on sale is dirt cheap, and its visuals still hold up. Simcade number 4 is Grid Autosport. The Grid series has always been a bit on the fantasy side of the racing genre, which is a weird way to describe it, and I realize that I just can't think of another word. Grid is a very non-committal experience as you bounce around disciplines with as much ease as the driving control. It's an arcade racing game that gives you the cinematic view of what the racing world is versus the realism side. You'll find less real-life cars and tracks here, but there's still plenty of content and variety. Simcade number 3 is Dirt 4. Dirt Rally maybe had some fundamental rally driving physics dialed in a little tighter, but Dirt 4 just has so much bang for your buck it doesn't really matter. As the only strictly off-road or rally game in this entire video, as well as the official Rallycross World Championship game, Dirt 4 is just rallying and off-road bliss. If controlled slides and Scandinavian flicks are your thing, Dirt 4 is the best rally experience we've had in a very long time. There's a full career mode and a large collection of historic rally cars to boot as well. Simcade number 2 is F1 2018. After the official F1 game series tanked hard around 2014, the resurgence the last few years has been pretty strong. The career mode, in-season car development with your team, and off-track metagame is the highest quality it's ever been. Ultimately, most of it, besides which team you get to drive for and how you develop the car throughout the season, doesn't matter too much, but it's still great seeing F1 games back in a really good spot and representing the sport well, with the official FIA Formula 1 license being finally utilized to its full potential by Codemasters. Simcade number 1 is Project Cars 2. Project Cars 2 is hands down the most fully experience-featured and visually stunning racing game. It's approachable yet extremely deep in its driving model and setup engineering, and it's the prime example of why I say Simcade shouldn't be taken as a derogatory term for a title. Sometimes you just want to race. You just want to get on a real track with a real car and drive and race in championships, fight with other cars for position, and just have fun. Titles like Project Cars 2 are how you just sit down and enjoy the thrill of motorsports in a realistic way without having to take it full-blown with these hardcore simulators. And you can take it as seriously as you want to as well, with the full and complex car setups it offers that are on par with the top sims in terms of options. But the sheer amount of cars, tracks, and lengthy career mode makes it one of the most fully featured, graphically stunning, and diverse racing titles ever created, and it absolutely deserves to be number 1 of the non-hardcore list. Hey, hope you guys enjoyed that list. Let me know if there's any sims or simcades I missed. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.